Hello everyone, long time no see. For those of you who are new here, my name is Reverb and I am a ex-Naraka player. But if you're watching this video, it's probably because you heard about a different game called Moonray that's an open alpha. I've been testing this game for a very long time, but just recently it went out on open alpha, so I'm going to make a video about it. I know it's been a while, but this video is going to be more of a review for my experience playing both prize events, competitive prize events, and just playing it normally and casually, and how the game feels, both as an experienced player and from keeping in touch with newer players as they get on the scene over the past month. Most importantly, I need to preface two things. One, I am not yet sponsored by Moonray, although I do hope to in the future. All of these are my opinions. These are gonna be critiques, but I'll try not to be too critical. I want to keep it everything 100 so that new players can really have, I guess, as objective of a viewpoint as you can, so that they can see if they want to play the game. Second off, this is technically a crypto or a Web3 game, and I don't know what that means. Most I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I tried, like most people, I kind of tried to stay away from most of this stuff, and so I'm not gonna be talking about any of that. I'm just gonna be talking about the game, because why talk about things you don't know when you can talk about things that you do know? So yeah, if you're looking for something that talks about coinage or something, I don't know, this ain't the video for you, bro. This is if you want to play the game, and if you want some good combat and a fun community to be around. So with that being said, let's move on. As you can see right here, Moonray is free to play from July 1st until the beginning of August on Epic Games Launcher, so please keep an eye on that. If you do actually want to install it, that is the only place that it will let you. The core excitement around this game is also, in my eyes, kind of a flaw that needs to be addressed by the devs and hopefully resolved, which is that at its heart, Moonray is a melee combat game. Very similar to a game I used to play called Naraka. It's easy to learn, but really difficult to master. So you can spend hours just trying to learn everything you can, and it's so much fun. It's always a learning experience, a journey, if you will. Yet, the problem comes in that Moonray has not found a core mode to go along with these fundamentals that they made in the playtest. So a lot of players are having issues figuring out where is it going in the future. What plans do they have? Is this going to be a 1v1 arena? Or is it going to be like one of the team deathmatch modes where it is kind of like a MOBA, but with melee combat aspects? The content thus far has been custom game lobbies where you can choose between their wide range of maps and choose a game mode of free-for-all or a team deathmatch where there's crystals, similar to how there's towers in League of Legends, and you can kind of have a MOBA and these crystals give you points. Both of them are fun in their own way, but they are vastly different in the direction the game is going to go. The devs have not been explicit in what direction they're deciding to take the franchise, and I think this is mostly because since it's a really early alpha playtest, way too early in my opinion, they're trying to field their demographic to figure out where it should go. I don't think this is bad right now, because there's a lot of potential, which is why people are getting very excited as testers to kind of give out their various opinions on what it should be. But I do think that it speaks to the difficulty new players will have onboarding, because they're not sure what type of game they're playing, and a lot of the issues that you might have as a new player going in are because you don't understand these nuances. So I'm going to explore, or at least try and explain what each of those are. If this is your first time playing a fighting type game, there are basically 3 types of attacks here that you need to memorize and keep in mind when you're fighting other players. The best way that I like to explain it is it's a lot like Pokemon. You have the OP Squirt type, the zonked out Weed type, and the basic Lit type. And although Squirt will always take out them Lit types of attacks, you would never use a Squirt attack against a Weed attack, alright? So these 3 attacks are the Light attack, which helps you stagger your opponent, low risk, low reward, but they're very useful in given situations. The blue attack, which is a focus attack, if you will, that does extra damage. And then if you press G, or you both click left and right click you can parry to stop focus attacks and then immediately click left click again to counter attack. Now, why am I explaining these things to new players if you're here? No, it's not just because I'm a really cool dude. This is actually part of my review, which is Moonray does not have a tutorial or explanation on controls or even the option to change keybinds, which are very useful systems when onboarding new players. Now, you can say I'm nitpicking, but this is a very important part of games that are just brushed over way too often. I've played about 10 of these Moonray events and done pretty well in all of them, but that's because I've already played these types of games. But in these events, half the time there's a new player that doesn't even know half of the controls coming in, and it's their first time playing. Don't get me wrong, if a player is trying to win a competition, it's all in their hands to win. But that is besides the point here. Moonray may have issues in the future acquiring a player base if their onboarding systems are not there to help players learn. I will admit that they do have the option in custom lobbies to make bots. They do have a training room. However, when you don't have a tutorial to explain controls, when you don't have a menu that tells you what the controls are even, and you don't have the option to change keybinds, which is how half of gamers these days learn controls besides the tutorial, it's really going to be difficult to acquire a player base. Okay, the next thing that inevitably I need to talk about for players that are thinking about joining the Open Alpha is that there are bugs in the game. Yes, you heard me. Trust me, dude. I know all of them. And yes, I do pride myself on it. So trust me when I tell you to just report it and move on. It's an Open Alpha, and if that is just something you can't get over, then okay, I understand. I will post a video when the game is closer to launch so you can get a more finished product. It's no biggie. It's normal to want a stress-free experience, but if you're a new player that's trying to come into the Open Alpha and you just don't like having a buggy game, then I don't think you should play it right now. But I will update you when it's closer to launch. Now, I've said a lot of stuff that's pretty critical of the games, so before we go to the final segment, let me show you the cool parts of the game that I love and am excited for in the future. This project is an ambitious one where they want to make it live service globally, which for fighting games is notoriously difficult given netcode. And although it is still buggy right now and the netcode isn't nearly as polished as AAA games like Guilty Gear, Street Fighter, or even Naraka, they have been making good on creating servers closer to their player bases, and they're able to do this because of AWS. So as player demand increases, so will their servers that get pushed out. Unfortunately, the Asian player base has not been given theirs as of yet, since it's a relatively new group of players that just came on recently, but they are working on fulfilling that demand. Yes, guys. In fact, I do get to play on my own NA West server, and it is super cool. I'm not even gonna lie, it's so much fun. Even with the bugs, it just feels so creamy smooth, and I finally understand what all other players that have been playing on like 30 or 40, 30, or like, okay, let's be honest, like 40 or below ping. I know how it feels now, and I understand why you guys get mad at high ping players now. So anyways, that's just, I really love that. I really love that. Next thing is skins. I would be remiss to skip the customizations and character making. The chromas are a nice touch, but there are differences in some of the characters, which makes me go back to before about, hey, where is this game going? Are there going to be character classes? Because some of these characters, you actually get a different blaster depending on which one you choose. For example, the one I'm using is a burst rifle, which I'm not very excited about, but at the same time, it's so worth it for this skin. It looks so good. But the default character does come with the auto rifle, which is a lot better. But you basically play to unlock each of these characters, and then the chromas, they haven't really told us really how the monetization is going to be in the future. But regardless, they just look so good, and the animators did a really good job of making everything sync, and I don't know, just it's very creative, and it has like a really Warframe-esque kind of feel to it, especially with the movement that I found. So the last thing I want to bring to the new players' attention when talking about this Open Alpha is that the community is actually really nice, which is a breath of fresh air for people who just, you know, if you play League or Valorant or any of those games, you can understand that it can get toxic sometimes. But I've played, like I said, 10 events, and I've done really well in like all of them. But despite that, nobody really has, there's not a lot of ego talk, and when there is ego talk, it's more of just like for show and everything, because they are streaming, so they're doing it for that really. But there's not a lot of like clout, oh, you're a bad player, you should uninstall, like that kind of stuff always rubbed me the wrong way. So the fact that this game has a really good community, in my opinion, is the biggest draw. Like, so if that is something that like you actually care about, then no matter if they're the worst player or the best player, they're not gonna really judge you. They're not gonna, I don't know. It's just, I enjoy it. I enjoy my time there genuinely when I'm in the events, when I'm playing in normals. Like it's fun. And whether I lose or not in the future, I'll probably still think the same, so I'm happy about that. I'm gonna end this video with one last critique, that this is more of like a note to the devs, like, hey, this might be a priority for you in the future. So new players might care about this too. It's kind of controversial within the player base, which is like, they have a leaderboard which you earn rewards for getting placements in, but because of how it's set up and there's only custom games, there are a lot of ways that you can kind of farm points, and one of them being bots, or doing specific modes, or queuing only with your friends and like throwing with them, or purposely setting up teams to where you always win. Like these kinds of things are kind of common. And on my note to the devs is like, it is still possible to bot farm. You just have to queue up a regular game without bots, and then if the competitor leaves, the bot takes their place and you get the points for that. So that's a note to the devs. I don't really think that should stop a new player from playing, but I will say that it is a kind of a controversial thing in the for the current player base, that there are people that are trying to game that system. Whether or not you think that's like morally okay or not, it's neither here or there. It's just, it is an aspect of the game. So until they fix that, this is what we're left with. So anyways, I hope you guys had a good I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you later. See ya.